They called it a temporary layoff. I called it the beginning of a slow collapse. 8 months. That's how long I spent refreshing job boards, tweaking resumes, and getting ghosted by companies that promised they were like a family. I stopped counting how many times I hit submit application. My savings were gone, my pride was in shreds, and I was eating cereal with water. So, when Best Buy called me back about the overnight inventory position, I said yes before the guy on the phone even finished his sentence. No customers, no sales goals, no fake smiling, just shelves, scanners, and silence. It sounded perfect. The store itself was wedged between a defunct Office Max and a long-dead Sears, the kind of plaza you only go to when your GPS breaks. I parked under one of the busted floodlights, grabbed my coat, and walked across the cracked pavement like I was approaching a prison that somehow offered direct deposit. The inside smelled like old plastic and something burnt, like melted wires. The lights were dim, humming just loud enough to feel wrong. A row of flat screens mounted above the entrance all showed the same frozen image, a paused infomercial with a woman mid-sneeze. By the punch clock, a guy in a faded navy hoodie looked up from a clipboard. Mid-30s, tired eyes, beard that looked like it started as a dare and just stuck around. He gave me a nod, then held out a laminated sheet. "Name's Zeke," he said, voice like gravel in a paper bag. "You're Ava?" "Yeah," I replied, punching in. "You the manager?" He snorted. "God, no, just the guy who doesn't sleep well. You'll be with me tonight." I glanced at the laminated paper. "Store policy?" He shrugged. "Something like that. You're gonna want to read it and follow it." I gave him a look, the kind you save for weird Craigslist roommates or bus stop profits, but his face didn't change. No smirk, no wink, just calm, deadpan honesty. Rules. 1. Avoid the home theater section after 12:30 a.m. If the TVs turn on by themselves, leave. Don't look at them. Don't stop walking. 2. Lock the loading dock doors by 1 a.m. If they're open after that, wait 5 minutes. If nothing happens, close them fast. 3. Ignore the security mirrors. If you see something wrong in the reflection, don't confirm it. Just walk away. 4. Don't use the break room microwave after 2 a.m. If you smell popcorn, unplug it. 5. Stay out of aisle 9 after 2:45 a.m., even if someone's calling for help, especially then. 6. If you notice a ceiling leak, walk away. Don't look up. 7. If your scanner glitches and shows a product with model name, they will rise. Drop it. Do not carry it. I lowered the sheet slowly. "So hazing thing?" Zeke's eyes didn't blink. "Nope," he said it with a tone that invited no argument. Then he walked off toward the back, expecting me to follow. I stood there for a second, longer than I should have, listening to the soft whine of the electronics. Something about the air inside the store felt thick, like breathing through cotton. Still, I followed him, clutching the rules sheet like a map through unfamiliar territory. We passed rows of laptops, tablets, and shelves stocked with headphones. Everything felt a little off. Like the store had been left running too long on a generator nobody bothered to refill. "You'll get the hang of it," Zeke said, breaking the silence as we reached the back storeroom. "Just don't overthink the list." "Have you ever had to follow all of them?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. "Most of them, yes." He handed me a barcode scanner and pointed toward a pallet of boxed routers. "Start here. Unpack, scan, stock. We'll get into rhythm." I nodded and got to work. The scanner beeped softly with each item, and for a while it was just that. Beep, shelf, beep. Zeke moved a few aisles down, organizing tablet stands and muttering to himself. Every so often I caught him glancing at the clock. At 11:15 p.m. I sat on a closed mini fridge and sipped from my water bottle. Zeke came around with a box of surge protectors and dropped it beside me. "You like horror movies?" he asked. I blinked. Sure, grew up on 'em." "Ever seen Pulse?" "You mean the one where ghosts come through the internet?" He gave a tired smile. "Yeah, that's the one. Dumb premise, but sometimes I think they were onto something." I laughed. He didn't. Eventually he said, "People don't last long on this shift." I raised an eyebrow. "Because of the pay?" I asked. "Different kind of traffic after dark." He turned and walked away, leaving me alone and wondering what he meant by that. The hours between 11 and midnight passed in a haze of shelf labels, packing tape, and that weird crinkly plastic they used to wrap gaming keyboards. It was almost relaxing. Zeke kept to himself, occasionally muttering something about reorders or box cutters gone missing, while I stocked USB hubs and tried not to think about my rent. It wasn't until 12:27 a.m. that the air changed. I was walking back from the mobile accessories aisle, arms full of overpriced HDMI cables, when I noticed the temperature drop. Not a normal draft. I mean a deep cold, like stepping into the frozen aisle barefoot. The kind of chill that seeps under your sleeves and makes your skin tighten. I paused near the central floor display. "Is it always this cold in here?" Zeke looked up from his clipboard. He didn't answer right away. Then he glanced at his watch and muttered, "Almost time, we should move." I raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "Home theater," he said. "Rule 1. We started walking. Zeke picked up the pace, his shoes scuffing the tile with a little more urgency than before. I followed him past smartwatches and soundbars, trying not to trip over my own feet. Something about his tone made me uneasy. 12:34 a.m. It started with a soft pop. Then another. Then a third. Row by row, the TVs in the home theater section blinked to life, like someone was walking through and flipping them on one at a time. But we were the only ones back there, and no one was close enough to trip the motion sensors. Just rows of glowing screens activating like they were waking up. They lit the room in a harsh, sterile glow, each screen showing static at first, then brief flashes of channels that didn't make sense. Snowy landscapes, empty offices, a kitchen with meat hanging from the ceiling. One showed what looked like a hospital bed, but there was something wrong with the shape under the sheets. Zeke didn't stop. "Keep walking," he said, not even turning his head. "Don't look. No eye contact." I tried. I really did, but the flicker pulled at me. My eyes flicked sideways, just for a second. Something long moved through the screens. At first I thought it was a glitch, a blur between pixels, but it wasn't. It passed through the image, stretching across 2 or 3 displays, a shape that didn't fit the space. Too tall, too narrow, elbows that bent in the wrong direction. One of the heads turned. Its face was blank. Or maybe too many features all mashed together. I couldn't focus on it, couldn't understand it. I tore my eyes away. My chest tightened. I tried to breathe through my nose, but my throat had gone dry. Zeke didn't stop. He didn't say anything either. Just kept walking until we were 2 aisles over and out of sight of the screens. Only then did he exhale. "You looked," he said quietly. I tried to explain, but the words stuck. "It was just a glance." He nodded slowly, like he wasn't surprised. "They don't always show up. You got unlucky." My hands were shaking. "What was that?" "Don't know. Don't want to know," he said, pulling a pack of batteries from his vest and tossing them onto a nearby cart. "We call it the pattern. Lights up the TVs when it's close, sometimes just static, sometimes more." I tried to swallow. "So what happens now?" "Nothing if we stick to the rest of the rules. The pattern usually moves on." I nodded, but my legs still felt like jello. The leftover glow from the TVs cast faint shadows between the aisles. The silence that followed felt too heavy, like it was watching me. For the next half hour, I stayed close to Zeke. I didn't say much. Neither did he. We didn't go near the TVs again. He didn't explain why we had to walk through the aisle. Would it not have been easier to just not go there? It felt weird, but I trusted Zeke. After all, he had worked here longer than me. By the time 12:50 rolled around, I was still shaking off the image of those screens. My scanner kept slipping in my hand because my palm wouldn't stop sweating, and I kept catching myself glancing over my shoulder like something was following me. Zeke hadn't said a word since we left the home theater section. He just moved through his checklist, occasionally scanning boxes and repositioning a pallet jack with short, controlled motions, like he'd done this 1,000 times and had learned exactly what not to think about. Me? I was still stuck on the thing I saw. "I didn't mean to break the rule," I finally said. Zeke looked over from a tower of Bluetooth speakers. "It's not about meaning to. It's about whether it noticed you." That didn't make me feel better. "Has it ever done more?" He paused like he was weighing the answer. "Yeah," he said eventually, "but not right away." That was somehow worse. We made our way toward the back of the store. The walls here were unfinished, exposed pipes, cracked tiles, a flickering emergency light that looked like it had been kicked one too many times. I followed Zeke past stacks of outdated printers until we reached the loading dock double doors. I'd never liked those big metal doors. Even in daylight, they gave off the same energy as an open elevator shaft. Too heavy. Too final. Zeke checked his watch. 12:59. Not yet. The air back there was colder than anywhere else in the building. Not just cool, cold, like standing in front of a walk-in freezer that had been left cracked open. The kind of chill that hits bone without asking. I stepped toward the handles, eager to just get it over with. Zeke grabbed my arm, not hard but firm. No, we wait 5 minutes, but the rule says, wait 5 minutes, then close it, fast. We stood there, staring at the doors. The silence was thick. I heard the faint hum of the store's HVAC system cutting in and out behind us, but back here it sounded like it was coming from underwater. Then came the scrape. Just once, a slow, dragging sound, metal on concrete, not close, but not far either, like something long and low was being pulled across the pavement outside. I froze. Zeke, he didn't look at me. Don't speak. Another scrape, shorter, a bit louder, then nothing. My pulse was thumping in my ears. 5 minutes felt like 50. I kept imagining something on the other side of those doors pressing its face to the crack, breathing fog into the hinges. Something that knew we were standing there. Zeke finally exhaled. All right. Now. I reached for the doors. My fingers barely worked. They were too cold. I gripped the handle, pulled one side shut, then the other. The latch stuck for a second, like something was pushing back, but then it gave. Clunk. I locked it. My hands were shaking again. Zeke gave a single nod. Good. You're doing fine. I wasn't, but I appreciated the lie. As we walked away, I risked a glance over my shoulder. Nothing there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the cold hadn't left. It had followed us, clinging to the seams of my jacket, hiding in the creases of my neck, like something had brushed against me when I touched the door. Zeke didn't say anything else until we were 3 aisles away. Then he muttered, "If it had been open a minute longer." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. By 1:30 a.m., the store had settled into a strange kind of rhythm. Me and Zeke, working in silence. Scanners beeping. Pallets shrinking. Our footsteps echoing too loudly in aisles that felt too long. The ceiling lights buzzed in bursts. Bright one moment, dim the next, like they were struggling to stay awake. The earlier fear had settled into something quieter. I was alone in the accessories section, restocking power banks and clip-on fans, when I caught movement in the corner of my eye. At first, I thought it was my own reflection in one of the convex mirrors they hang on the ceiling corners. You know, the ones they use to catch shoplifters during the day. Except the person in the mirror wasn't moving like I was. I froze. In the reflection, way down at the end of the aisle, stood a figure, not facing me, just standing there. I turned around, fully expecting to see Zeke at the far end. He wasn't there. My stomach dropped, but the figure was still in the mirror, and it was closer. It didn't move like a person, more like it had too many joints, or none at all. Its shoulders rose too high, its arms hung too low. It stood there, a distortion that didn't quite match its surroundings, like it was stitched into the reflection from some other world. I took a slow step backward, my eyes locked on the mirror. Another step. The figure didn't move. Then Zeke's voice cut through the silence, low and firm. "You see it too?" I turned. He was a few feet behind me, holding a box of USB-C cables. His face was pale. I nodded, barely. "Don't look at those mirrors again," he said. "But it's still there." I said, "Don't look." I shut my eyes tight and turned away from the mirror. When I opened them again, I didn't look back. We walked fast, cutting through 3 aisles before either of us spoke again. Zeke let out a long breath. "They're worse than the TVs." I looked at him. "The mirrors? They show you what's close, even if it isn't supposed to be. Doesn't need to follow the rules in the glass. Doesn't even need to be in this aisle. But if you notice it, sometimes it notices back." My arms prickled with goosebumps. "And what if it does?" He didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, "That depends on whether you keep looking." We reached the break room, a grim little space behind the service desk with a folding table, 2 vending machines that only took exact change, and a microwave that had probably been manufactured before I was born. Zeke sat down and rubbed his face with both hands. "You're holding up better than most." I leaned against the table, arms crossed tight. "Most?" He nodded. "The ones who leave early, or don't come back after lunch. Or just disappear." I waited a second. "So the rules, they're real, all of them." He looked up. "I wouldn't still be here if they weren't." There was a sound then, soft, subtle, almost a comfort noise. Pop, pop, pop. The scent hit a second later. Burnt sugar, artificial butter, popcorn. I glanced toward the microwave. Zeke stood up fast. "No," he said, "don't touch it." He unplugged the microwave with a yank. The smell lingered like it was leaking from the vents. It turned sour in my nose, sweet one second, acrid the next. I stepped back. Zeke didn't look surprised. "Sometimes it messes with the electronics," he said. "Gets inside them, like it's learning." "Learning?" I asked, my throat dry again. Zeke didn't answer. He was staring up at the ceiling. The silence pressed in again, heavy and full. I didn't ask what he saw up there, and I didn't look. It was 2:30 a.m. when the quiet stopped feeling normal and started feeling wrong. We'd spent the last half hour reorganizing the battery rack, avoiding the mirrors, steering clear of the microwave like it was a loaded weapon. But it wasn't just that. It was the kind of stillness that felt personal. Like the store was holding its breath, waiting to see who would make the next move. Zeke checked the clipboard again, frowning. "We're missing a pallet," he said. I leaned over. "We already hit networking, mobile, accessories. What's left?" He tapped a row on the sheet. "Cables. Should have been in aisle 9. I glanced toward the far end of the store. Aisle 9. I hadn't been near it yet. Neither had Zeke, as far as I knew. "Could be logged wrong," I offered. "Maybe it got shelved early?" Zeke didn't answer. He kept staring down the aisle. "I will check it. You stay here." "Zeke," I said, "stay." He was already walking off. His steps sounded loud against the floor, like the store wanted me to hear how far away he was going. The lights above aisle 9 flickered once, then steadied. I waited. 5 minutes, maybe 6, and then I heard it. His voice. "Ava." Faint, like it was coming through the shelves. "Ava, something's wrong. Come here, please." It sounded like him, but off. The rhythm was weird. Too slow, like the words were being dragged out one syllable at a time. Like someone was imitating speech they'd only just learned to copy. I backed up toward the center aisle. My throat felt tight. I called out, "Zeke?" No answer. Just silence again. Then, "Ava, come on, I need help." My blood went cold. Rule 5. Stay out of aisle 9 after 2:45 a.m., even if someone's calling for help, especially then. I glanced at my watch. 2:46 a.m. I whispered his name again, more out of reflex than hope. Nothing. Then I took one step forward, just one. And that's when I saw it. At the far end of aisle 9, something moved. Not Zeke, not even close. It was tall, pale, and wet-looking, like raw dough pulled into a human shape. Limbs too long, knees bending the wrong way, arms stretched out and dragging along the tile, elbows flopping as it moved. It jerked sideways into the shadows, out of view. I froze. Then I ran. I didn't think. I didn't look back. I sprinted past the laptops through the speakers section, heart hammering like it was trying to outrun me. I didn't stop until I nearly crashed into the mobile displays near the front. My scanner buzzed, loud, sharp. I looked down. Glitch detected. Model name They Will Rise. Location current aisle. The lights above me flickered. Once, twice, and then something wet hit the back of my neck. Cold, sticky. Rule 6. If you notice a ceiling leak, walk away. Don't look up. But I did. And it was there. Clinging to the ceiling like it belonged there. Like gravity didn't matter. Limbs bent backwards, feet pressed to the tiles above, neck craned at an impossible angle. Its face split into a smile. Wide, wrong, full of little teeth, too many, too sharp. It watched me, and then it moved. Not like falling, more like sliding. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I ran. I didn't know where I was running. I just knew I had to move. Every part of me was buzzing with panic. My chest hurt from breathing too hard, and my legs felt like they were giving out under me, but I kept going. Past shelves of chargers, past the destroyed scanner still glitching on the floor, past displays I didn't register. Behind me, I heard it. Not footsteps. Wet breathing. A heavy, squelching rhythm. The sound of something dragging itself behind ceiling tiles too close to falling. I skidded into a pile of gaming chairs and almost went down. That's when Zeke appeared from around the front display. He looked like hell. His right arm was bleeding, dark red soaking through the sleeve of his hoodie, and his other hand was gripping a remote. His face was pale, slick with sweat. But he was still standing. I ran to him. "Zeke, it's here." I looked, I saw it. He grabbed my shoulders. His hands were ice cold. "I know," he said. "You broke too many. It's off its pattern now." You saw it. It saw you." I couldn't even form a reply. He shoved the remote into my hands. "Projector remote," he said. "Brightest setting. Don't aim. Don't hesitate. Just hit it in the face. Might buy you a few seconds." Then we both heard it, coming fast now. The sound of limbs smacking tile and a voice, garbling something that almost sounded like my name. Zeke turned toward the sound. Too late. It came from the wall, not the ceiling this time, crawling out sideways, mouth wide open and limbs unfolding like a broken umbrella. Elbows twisted, ankles cracked. Then it launched. I barely saw it hit Zeke. Just the blur of movement and the sound, bones crunching, fabric tearing, something wet snapping. He didn't scream for long. I didn't think. I hit the projector remote and aimed it straight at the thing. White light exploded from the display stand. The creature reared back, hissing, not like a person, not like any animal, more like audio feedback mixed with a scream, sharp and metallic and wrong. Its skin blistered in the glare, its limbs twitched. I held the beam as long as I could. The light flickered once, twice. Then the creature jerked backward into the shadows, disappearing like it had been yanked by a rope. The remote fell from my hands. I didn't stop to look for Zeke. I didn't stop to cry. I ran. Through the front gate, which was wide open now. Past the register counters, past the empty carts and sale signs and price tags fluttering in the AC like they meant something. I burst through the front doors and collapsed on the sidewalk. I couldn't stop shaking. Couldn't stop crying. My hands were sticky with blood that wasn't mine. They found me outside the store just after 4 a.m., curled up on the sidewalk like a discarded mannequin. The first thing I remember clearly is the flashing red and blue lights. Then the paramedics kneeling beside me, asking if I could hear them, asking where I was hurt. I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up, my teeth were chattering, and my body was locked in place like I'd been frozen solid. I remember one of them shining a light in my eyes, then pulling back fast when he saw the blood all over my shirt and arms. "Is it hers?" someone asked. I opened my mouth and said the only thing I could. "Zeke?" They kept asking me to repeat it. They wrapped me in one of those silver blankets and loaded me into the ambulance. The questions didn't stop. One of the cops came along for the ride, trying to be gentle about it. "Did you see what happened to your coworker? Did you fall? Did you hurt your head? Do you remember anything strange inside the store?" I just kept saying his name. Later, when I was a little more functional and they gave me something warm to drink, I finally managed to talk. I told them everything. The rules, the TVs, the mirrors, the cold near the loading dock, the thing on the ceiling, the way Zeke died. I thought, maybe, just maybe, if I told the truth, they'd listen. They didn't. The cop nodded politely the whole time, taking notes. He didn't interrupt. He didn't roll his eyes. Then he handed me a statement form and asked if I wanted a ride home. "Wait," I said, confused. Aren't you looking for him?" "We did," he said. "We searched the whole building. No one else was there." "But the blood. We found a flashlight, a few broken shelves, some kind of dark smear on the tile," he said, voice flat. "But no body. No sign of anyone named Zeke in the employee database either. Closest we found was an Isaac Reynolds. Worked night shifts until 3 months ago. Quit without notice." I stared at him, the room spinning. "No," I said. "He was there. He gave me the rules. He handed me the remote." He just nodded again, like I was describing a dream I'd had, not the night I'd survived. They marked it as a panic episode. Stress-induced breakdown, probably caused by sleep deprivation, they said. Overwork, anxiety, nothing supernatural, nothing criminal. The report didn't even list a missing person. They let me go just before sunrise. I didn't go home. I sat in the Walmart parking lot across the highway, engine off, watching the sun come up through a dirty windshield. When I finally did drive, I kept the radio off the whole time. I couldn't stand the sound of voices, not even recorded ones. I didn't go back to Best Buy, didn't answer the follow-up call from corporate HR. They left a voicemail. "We're sorry to hear about your experience. If you're interested in returning, we always have openings for overnight staff." I deleted it without listening to the rest, but I know what I saw, and I know what I heard. Zeke was real. The rules were real. That thing, it's still in there, crawling somewhere between the projectors and the loading dock, watching, learning, because that's what it does. And Best Buy is still hiring.